Well, this morning, folks, instead of trekking far and wide around the Emerald Isle, I'm here in my favourite part of my homeland. Well, close to home, that is. These are the woods at Corrin Hill. Lush, green, and extravagantly sunlit this morning. To have this facility adjacent and joining my home property is indeed a treasure. And what you're looking at here is a glorious stand of foxglove basking here in early morning sunshine. It's only 6:30 a.m. Skies are blue overhead, but temperatures are not impressive. So folks, on the second week of summer, temperatures as low as they are is not traditional. But again this morning, we have this northerly breeze, quite cool northerly breeze blowing into us here in the south of Ireland. Now, I've used these woods extensively over most of my life. Apart from the years that I was living away overseas. But since I was a young boy, seems like centuries ago, I've used these woods. So in a sense, in a way rather, I feel awfully privileged and indeed very lucky to have this environment at my disposal 24 hours a day. It's a facility and an amenity area. Lots of work has been done to make this place what it is today. Now there is an airborne disease after affecting the large stand of larch trees to my left, and speaking to the Forestry Division people, Quilta, last week, I've been informed that there's going to be a major felling to rid the woods of that infected larch forest. But it's not just here in Corrin Woods. It's a disease that's after affecting many forests throughout the country. I look forward to almost every morning of getting out of the bed at dawn, having the breakfast and getting into nature. And I think I can safely and truly and honestly say to you all here right now that I've been doing that pretty eloquently most of my life. There is a documentary series called Stories from the River of Time. Stories from the River of Time. I reckon there are about 50, perhaps even 60 historical documentaries, all produced and made by myself, my good self. They are available to watch on my YouTube channels and in my Facebook channel. I was doing those for quite a long time, and if you want to go back and see a 3-part documentary series that I produced on this wood and these woods in Corrin Hill, you'll go back a long ways now. You'll find it on my YouTube pages, which there are 2, and then they'll be here if you keep on scrolling down to the early days of my Facebook presence. You'll find Corrin Hill and Woods, and the history and the geography and the folklore and the mythology. I delved into it all. It took a long time to produce, a huge amount of research, and I did it over 4 seasons of the year. I know I've told you before that my favorite place for walking are forests, woods, densely covered areas on the landscape. I'm not really much into open mountains much, but you've seen me go there. Wherever there's a walk, I'll place my feet on the ground and go for it. Now folks, if you look over my cown, over my head, I'm here in a stand, quite a big stand of larch timber, larch trees. If you look up, we're now virtually midsummer. The trees above and right around are void of any leaves and greenery. They have been affected extensively by this airborne organism that's affected this large stand of trees. As you can see, the predominant thing now about this affected forest is just a straight up trunk with withering, rusty branches. Virtually every large tree here has been affected. It's quite sad really when you look at it from where I am right now, right up high on the southeastern slopes. When you drive and traverse the motorway, the Cork-Dublin motorway, and the other network of roads adjacent to these woods, it's also quite noticeable. Now this is a type of terrain that the ticks would be waiting to pounce on exposed flesh. Don't have any wet gear on today because one doesn't expect it, but however, a bit of wet won't kill me this morning. Now this cross, stone cross, was erected here in 1933 to commemorate the Holy Year. And it's been here ever since. Although, I must add, the image unfortunately needs rather urgent attention. It's in a sort of a weathered, bewildered condition. Now, I'm not going to elaborate on the history and the folklore and the mythology on this hour of the morning here. So if you need to find out the comprehensive history and geography, etc. of this particular spot here on top of Corrin Hill, go and search out the videos. that I produced, and it'll all be laid out before you in great detail. And here we have a cairn of stones, an elaborate cairn of stones, but it had been more elaborate, but over the years a lot of stones have been taken to build walls and piers of gates and parish boundaries and so forth on the hill here of Corrin and further afield. But it's still quite a significant landmark here on the hill. So if you want to find out about the cairn of stones which I'm now standing upon, and the cross over my left shoulder, my right shoulder rather, get yourself to my YouTube channels and my Facebook channel and go searching, and you'll find the history in full detail. There is quite impressive history and mythology attached, and historical history attached to this very site where I'm now standing. Coming up here all my life, apart from the years that I lived overseas, but when I did come back many times from Australia, I made my way here, and I left with a saddened heart until the next time. I suppose you never forget where you came from. Many people who were born and raised near enough to Corrin Hill and travelled to distant lands to better their future, for work, bring up a family, etc., and have sadly passed on. Their ashes have come back here to be scattered on this historic hill. I did tell you that there are people's ashes scattered here, and here's just one point that's readily identifiable where somebody's ashes have been laid to rest. Back home for the last time and forever. If you know where to look, and I know where to look, you'll find a series of dug-out trenches that were constructed during British occupation. Now, not many people would know where to go and find these, but we played around here when I was a wee boy a couple of 100 years ago. So, one to the right running away off in there, and then another one pails off down here to my left, under deep cover of trees. They're quite hard to find, but we used to find bullet shells, and I'm sure if you looked around diligently, you'd still find them here in the moss-covered ground. But like I said, we found many shells here when we were kids. My dad used to bring me up here to these series of trenches, and we used to be playing hide and seek. It's amazing what you find when you stay rather quiet and get out and about early in the morning. I'm just after spotting a little black baby rabbit there by a ditch. Corrin dove. And as you can now see by my attire, I am after getting pretty wet. Wherever you go and find yourself in this wood, in these forests, you'll almost certainly enjoy yourself. It can be quite peaceful. You might meet a lot of people, And then, like my presence here this morning, you meet nobody. You know, occasionally I meet a person or persons that come up to me and say, "Excuse me, could you tell us where the car park is?" Bearing in mind that they would have parked in the car park before they enter these woods. And then you explain to them where they are and how to return to their vehicle. And sometimes it's like talking to a stone. And I'm not being unkind. I've come to the conclusion that quite a lot of people, they haven't a clue about sense of direction. And whilst all that's acceptable and everybody to their own, I think when you come into unfamiliar places, you need to have some idea where you're parked and an idea rather how to get back to your vehicle. In the event of something happening, you need to be able to return. But then when I think about everybody's carrying a mobile phone, is it possible then that people don't know how to use the facilities in Google Maps and walking apps and so forth? You tell me. Now you're looking straight out there at the Knockmeal Down Mountains. A week ago, we took on Bear Island. We walked for a full day, and we cycled for a full day, and then we walked and cycled on the third day. Loved it. Weather was really beautiful. Well, folks, I'm standing here on an elevated perch and I'm looking out there towards the mountains to my left, the Galtee Mountains, and they are indeed calling me. And I've gone up those mountains on two different pathways, but there's a third one on the opposite side, on the Limerick side, which I think I'll attack. Now it's a lot more difficult. So I think I'll do the island trek first, and then in about a week and a half or so, I'll go and I'll assault the Galtees from the County Limerick side. It's amazing how quickly you can dry out when you maintain the progress on foot. I'm getting wet once again. High grass, and it's pretty wet. Early morning cobwebs on the floor. And I can tell you now, it's pretty wet underfoot there. Grass is a half a metre in height and it's just drenched. Now there's an elaborate beech forest here. Trees are reaching towards the sky and they're, I'd say, around 25-30 metres tall. There's a carpet of decaying beech leaves underfoot, as you can hear by the crackling. And I can be absolutely certain and assured that I'm the only person in here. this year, folks. I don't know if it's just me noticing this or is everybody noticing it, but I noticed a distinct lack of butterflies and bees. Now perhaps it's the weather, because the weather has not been warm and it hasn't been too kind to nature, I'd say, and to human beings, but a lack of butterflies and bees. You can see it's quite breezy. Don't be fooled by the blue skies overhead. It's quite cool. It's only 13 degrees. Last Tuesday, I was approached by a group of people, 4 people, asking if I would have a chat with them about forming a small, stroke intimate walking club. Now, I think at this stage, everybody out there and anybody that's watched my videos over the years, and there have been many, and many times I've said that I walk alone. And whilst I do not want to subscribe to being offensive, which I won't, and I usually don't, I've given the request from the 4 people some consideration, and I have deliberated pretty hard and fast on the query. And whilst I suppose I could lend my hand and expertise, if that's the description I'm looking for, to having 4 or 5 or 6 people with me on some of my walks, and I stress and emphasize the word some, and some being the operative word here. I could possibly consider it. Now, I think these people that were asking me were specifically asking about taking them on the 5-6 stages of St. Declan's Way. So I need to think more, and then I'll return with my answer. I'm not ruling it out, and I'm not ruling it in. I love my walking, and I love my walking alone. But perhaps there may be the St. Declan's Way walk again might be under consideration with a small intimate group of people. And nature is in harmony with me here to my right. in the 2.5 hours that I have been out walking, I have met no other human being. Finally, I find a great big collection of foxglove. Well, I'm taking a well-earned break here in beautiful sunshine. It's over an hour since I've spoken to you last. It was quite cool and cloudy then. But now I'm basking while sitting down in glorious sunshine, still wearing the woolly hat and the coat. But the sun is shining and it's 13 degrees, a tropical 13 degrees. But anyway, that is my morning walk, or that was my morning walk this morning. Had the whole forest and mountain and environs to myself. And that's the way I like it. And I have a bit to go now to get home, but I'll put the technology away and enjoy the rest of my walk in peace. I've been out over 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2 hours and 25 minutes. A single foxglove here, a solitary foxglove, no friends or companions next to him, confirming what I said to you earlier on this morning. So folks, you have a good day, you all have a good day and look after yourself. This was an impromptu walk this morning. I walk every morning, but bringing you along with me was an impromptu decision. So just wanted to show you the environs next to my home.